Star Wars: The Heart of the Jedi by Kenneth C. Flynn. Chapter 19. Han Solo strode out of the Mos Eisley Cantina and sauntered carelessly across the street, where Leia and Goen stood waiting for him. Leia had changed to a simple garb of nondescript jacket and pants for their venture here, and her hair was back in its practical braids. Just like old times, Han said in a pleased way. Can never forget what this place is like, even without Jabba in charge and all the Jawas getting all uppity. Almost forgot what a good ale was like, though. Used a sleeve to wipe a bit of residual foam from a corner of his mouth. I'm surprised you wanted to leave, Leia said dryly. Funny. Anyway, I checked out that Mos Eisley police report. I picked up on somebody with a lightsaber getting into a fight in the cantina. From what the guys inside told me, it must have been Luke who was here. Did you trust them? Asked Leia. Hey, they're old buddies of mine, he replied. They wouldn't lie to me. More outlaw friends? Goen said with open sarcasm. Most trustworthy, I'm sure. Listen, Princeling, Han told him tightly, stepping forward. I'm getting very tired of you. Goen met his eye boldly, drawing himself up, and the two men faced off. They attracted the attention of a patrol of stormtroopers passing by. Knock it off, Leia hissed, moving between them. Got an audience. She smiled towards the troopers in her most innocent way. Han looked around to them, then relaxed and grinned too, throwing a friendly wave. Try to look casual, he murmured to Goen, or at least not stuffed. Goen unbent slightly, almost cracking a smile as he also waved. The troopers exchanged looks and shrugs, then went on. Okay, they let us alone, said Leia. Probably thought we were the village idiots, said Han. Now listen, the description I got of this mean lightsaber slinging matched our boy exactly. On top of that, he was seen taking off with a blue and white R2 unit. That wasn't Luke. It was Luke, Leia said with assurance. She looked around her searchingly. He was here. I can feel him. Just faintly. Not a bad talent you got there, said Han. Might come in real handy. Can you feel anything more about him, like where he went from here? She concentrated hard, slowly panning the area with her eyes. It's very vague, she said. I could be wrong. It's still better than nothing, Han said. What do you got? I think he might have gone down there. She pointed to a street leading away. There's a lingering sense of urgency about his aura, like he was after something. Okay then, Han said. Let's go see. Must we all go? Goen said to them in a most pained manner. The other two looked at him. Got a problem nosing around here? Han asked. A little scared, maybe? Not at all, Goen blustered. It's just that, well, this is your milieu. These people are your kind. He cast a supercilious glance towards a tattered drunk passed out on the street before the saloon. You fit right in. The princess and I, well, we'd stand out. Could be dangerous. For her. I should take her back to safety. Besides, he looked about at the filthy street and rather shabby pedestrians and wrinkled his nose in disgust. There's a most unpleasant odor about this place. Now, wait a minute, Leia said hotly. This is my brother we're talking about. There's no danger that is going to stop me from looking for him. You can go back to the ship if you want. Tell the others what we're doing. But I'm going with Han. With that, she determinedly stalked off towards the side street. Han gave Goen a big smile. Don't get lost, Prince. He tossed back to the man as he turned and followed after her. That was telling him, partner, he said to Leia as he fell in beside her. Forget him, she snapped back. We've got more important things to worry about. Don't talk to me, she added as they came into the side street. Let me concentrate. She paused, looking around her again, head lifted, tense, like a bloodhound sniffing a scent. Then she nodded and pointed ahead. Definitely this way. You said, definitely this way, Han pointed out. Now what? they had reached a dead end. Grimy fronts of crackled stucco-faced buildings rose solidly on either side. A high wall pierced by a single small gate rose to block the way ahead. Leia stood looking around her once more, but this time she appeared to be at a loss. I can't feel anything clearly enough anymore, she said. I think he came here, but my sense of him just vanishes at this point. She looked to Solo as if to say, do we do? Okay, let's look at what we know. You said you think he was going after something. Something was pretty hot to get. I know he'd gotten a hold of some money. He took some risk winning it in a card game, so he must have needed it pretty bad. I'd say that what he was after was to buy something. Something fairly big. She gazed around him. Here? Where? He looked around too. His eye went up to the symbols above the gate, and his expression lit. I know this place. My bet is he came here. He moved to it and boldly knocked on the gate. There was a short wait, shuffling from beyond the portal, and then it was opened by a Jawa. The little creature looked them carefully up and down. Then it jabbered something to them. We want to see Rioslia, Han told it. Tell him it's Han Solo. The creature nodded and vanished inside for a brief time. When it returned, it swung the door wide and stepped back to let them in. It led them down a hallway through a building and out again into a large, wire-fenced compound filled with used spaceships. The insect-like Vuvrian smiled as he shuffled toward them, blinking its dozens eyes and waving its long tentacles about. Don't remember what voice I used for him. Ah, Captain Solo, Vitha said. So it is really you. A long time since I saw you last, but I heard that you were dead. Not quite yet, Han assured. What can I do for you? A ship, perhaps? He waved a foreleg around at the scattered craft. That old vessel of yours must need replacement by now. We're not here to buy anything, Rioslia, Han said. We're here after information. Oh, the being said with clear disappointment. No dealing then? No money? Sorry, we're looking for a fairly young guy. Human, white-skinned and blonde. He had an R2 unit with blue markings on him. Might have come here to get a ship from you. Yes, that he did, Rioslia admitted. An upgraded YT-1760. Very nice ship. Very nice indeed. He paid cash down for it too, though. A puzzled tone came into his voice. Not as much as I'd wished, in fact. He went on in a deepening puzzlement. I can't even believe I sold it at that price. Me, the hardest dealer in Mos Eisley. Puzzlement gave way to aggravation. He gave me a mere pittance, and I let him just fly away. Promised he'd make good the rest, and I trusted him on that as well. I must have been mad. That sounds like Luke, all right, Han said with amusement. Please, don't be concerned about that, Leia assured the creature. If he promised you, then the balance will be made good. And then some. And then some, Rioslia repeated, rubbing his hands together greedily. And exactly how much more? Enough, said Han tersely. But first you gotta tell us what you know. We have to find him. I believe I already told you everything, the Vuvrian said. He came, he paid money, he flew away. I learned nothing about him. You didn't find out where he was going? Asked Leia. He didn't tell me anything whatsoever, he answered definitely. I did feel that he was in somewhat of a rush. He had to wait a short time while we prepped the ship and seemed quite anxious about it. He shrugged his narrow shoulders. That's all. Damn, said Han in frustration. He looked to Leia. You can't pick up any impressions here of what Luke was going to do, can you? Anything at all? She concentrated hard for some moments, then shook her head. Nothing. She waved around at the scores of Jawas bustling around in their work on the ships. There's too much activity. Han tried Rioslia again. He didn't give you any hints? Drop any careless line that might give you an idea of his destination? You're sure there wasn't anything else at all? The Vuvrian considered. No, nothing. Oh, wait. There was one thing. A strange incident, likely not connected to your friend at all. Just a coincidence. Tell us anyway, Leia urged. Well, soon after his ship left, we found a Jawa's body behind a pile of barrels. No sign of how he died, but it was quite old, and the little creatures are dying all the time. He paused, then added regretfully. It was too bad. He was one of my best mechanics. Unfortunately, he was quite tough as well. Han and Leia exchanged a raised eyebrows glance at this last comment, but let it pass by. That doesn't help us any, said Han. There must be something else. He frowned hard as he racked his brain for other possibilities. Then his expression cleared as something new occurred to him. Say, Rios Leo, what about his own ship? Own ship? The other repeated, clearly not comprehending. Yeah, there could be something on it that would help us. Han looked around. Where is it? He had no ship, the Vuvrian said. What do you mean? Asked Leia. He flew to Tatooine in a small fighter. Right, said Han. Must have been worth something. Didn't he trade it in? As I told you, explained Vithis, he gave me cash down. That was it. Didn't say anything about his own ship? Asked Leia. As I've said several times, the being responded with thinning patience, he said nothing to me. How did he get to Mos Eisley? Asked Han. Leia shrugged again. Who knows? From his desert clothes and the amount of dust on him and his droid, I suppose I must have thought he'd come in from the desert. On foot. On foot? Said Han. He and Leia exchanged a meaningful look. You know what that might mean, he said to her. Let's go X-Wing hunting, she excitedly replied. Luke lowered himself slowly, gingerly, gratefully down into the warm bath. Boy, it's been a long time for one of these, he commented. R2-D2 squeaked in enthusiastic agreement. Oh, you noticed, R2? Luke translated. Thanks. Well, I'll get you one too. I'm surprised you still work with all the grit in your innards. I'll ask Thatch if he can give you a nice solvent bath. The two were in a rather plush bathing room of the plain-looking salvage scow. It seemed obvious that the Ewok captain had scavenged its parts from the best pickings. The fixtures were of gold, the walls and floors sheathed in richly embossed ceramic tiles. The massive tub formed from real marble. The parts, gleaned from various places, didn't match especially well, but altogether still made a sumptuous impression. Luke eased himself back into the tub and sank beneath the water with a sigh of relaxation. He realized it was the first time he hadn't been on the move in days, and much as he hated to admit it, there were times when he wished it could always be like this. Quiet, clean, comfortable, and with a chance to think about things. He considered his Ewok savior. There was no doubt that Captain Thatch did pretty well for a junk man. He cruised through the galaxy, at peace with everybody. He saw things and places. Luke could bet he met all kinds of interesting beings, too, and without always having to wonder if they were going to kill him. He sat upright, took up a large sponge from the side of the tub, and began to wash himself off. As he did, he continued his musings about the captain. Luke had really never met anybody like Thatch before. That is, anybody not all wrapped up in their own big problems. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru had been always worried about the farm, always having to face the hard work, always thinking about the next season. There hadn't been time for anything else, and almost everybody Luke had met since leaving them had been caught up in the war. He finished sponging off his front and looked to the silent, waiting droid. Hey, R2, would you get my back for me? He asked. The droid obediently rolled forward to the edge of the tub. A small hatch in its midsection popped open, and a rod with a claw end telescoped out. The claw took hold of the long handle of a brush sitting on the tub's side. It moved the brush forward to contact Luke's back. Luke shifted around to get in the best position, giving directions as he did. Okay, R2, a little higher. Left, down. Ah, right there. The droid began scrubbing in a vigorous up and down motion. Oh, easy, not so rough, R2, Luke cautioned. I don't want the skin off, and there are a few tender spots back there. The young Jedi's back was indeed much marked with bruises and lacerations from his recent scrapes. The droid reduced the pressure of its brushing and avoided the spots too. Better, Luke said. Ah, very good. He visibly relaxed further and continued with his thoughts, their nature becoming ever more introspective under the soothing effects of warm water and brush. He had almost forgotten there was anything else but the war. Still, he knew there had to be lots of places in the galaxy that didn't even know about it, or that didn't care. Well, he told himself in a dreamy way, it looked like soon nobody'd have to care anymore. Once the Empire had surrendered, it would all be over, wouldn't it? The Emperor was dead, the Death Stars were destroyed. The New Republic negotiators would see that freedom was restored to the galaxy. There wouldn't be much need for a Jedi. It would be for Leia and the other diplomats to decide what the future would be and how they'd all get along. They could work out those problems themselves just fine. And without him. The back scrubbing finished, R2 put down the brush and moved back. Thanks, R2, said Luke. That was great. He stretched himself out again in the bath, luxuriating in its waters. He sighed contently. Maybe I just will take Thatch's offer once all this is finished. Maybe I'll just go off with him. The little droid made a worried sound at that. No, I won't leave you, R2, Luke assured him. I'd take you along. It beeped and tweeted some more. Of course I haven't forgotten Leia and Han. I'm sure they'd understand. I've just got to... A low whistle from an intercom on the room's wall interrupted him. The gruff voice of Thatch followed from its speaker. And I don't mean to be interrupting you, mate, but when you're through there, would you mind coming to my bridge? I'll be entering Imperial Zone shortly. Be up in a few minutes, Luke promised. The young man climbed at once from the bathtub. R2 moved to pull a plush towel from a rack with its claw and handed it to him. He toweled off quickly and moved to a dressing table. 2 piles of clothes lay there, a set of new ones neatly laid out, and a pile of his old ones. He looked at the worn and dusty garments he had worn since Tatooine. He glanced at the others which he had picked from Thatch's stores. He picked up a pair of trousers from the new pile. I'll wear these, he announced. R2, you can throw away those others. It was only a few moments later that he was stepping onto the Entrepreneur's bridge, the little droid in tow. The ship's control room was a small one. From a single central chair, the captain could command all the ship's functions on banks of surrounding instrument consoles. Ewok swiveled a chair round towards Luke as the young man came in. His single eye widened in surprise, and his fur ears twitched to what he saw. Ah, and you, Luke, he said with pleasure. Very good, mate. Luke was now a quite flamboyant sight, resplendent in his chosen garb. Knee-high black leather boots fit over snugly fitting white pants, with gold stripes up the side. He wore a soft, full tunic of a silk-like silver cloth on top, and over it the green velvet jacket with the gold brocade. Is it okay? Luke asked, a bit uncertainly. I've never worn anything this, bright. It's like you were born to it, the other assured. Is it comfortable? Very, said Luke, fingering the shirt's cloth. Nothing's ever felt this good. And that's all that matters. Ewok turned back to the controls, signing Luke to him. Come here, take a look. Luke stepped up beside him and looked at a large forward monitor. It showed a section of space patterned with stars. Imperial space, Thatch told him. Last outposts of the Empire are not far ahead. We'll give them a wide berth, and beyond that, the unknown regions. You don't think we'll have trouble getting through? The way I'm going, why, the chances of even seeing an Imperial ship are... What's that? Luke said, suddenly pointing to another monitor. It showed a sharp-angle splendor of light sliding through space and getting larger. Rare view screen, said Thatch. Somebody's coming up on our stern. The following craft drew closer rapidly. Its distinctively slab-shaped hull and many-faceted bow were soon in clear view. An Imperial light cruiser, said Luke grimly. And, as if to confirm, an officious voice crackled sharply from their comm speaker. Attention unidentified ship. Stand to and prepare to be boarded.